All right, so story protocol. You know, this whole IP on the blockchain thing.
Yeah, yeah.
It's been buzzing, right? And we're going to do a deep dive today.
Absolutely, yeah.
We're talking about potentially a huge shift in like how we think about creative work, how it's shared, licensed, even funded.
Right.
So we're going to unpack their white papers, the tech, all that good stuff.
I'm ready. Let's do it.
Yeah, this is exciting stuff. And it gets pretty in the weeds, but I think it could have a real impact on creators and fans.
Yeah, it's one of those things that sounds kind of niche at first,
Right.
but the more you kind of dig into it, the more you're like, oh, okay, this could be a big deal.
Yeah, like a really big deal. So to set the scene a little bit, okay, imagine this. You are totally obsessed with this like new fantasy NFT collection, right? And you're hit with this bolt of inspiration.
Mm.
You have to make a fan comic
Yeah.
featuring these characters, right?
Okay.
You're thinking like epic crossovers, maybe even your own Bored Ape, but rocking a wizard hat, the whole 9 yards.
Right, right.
But then reality hits.
And you realize, how am I going to get permission from all these different creators to even use their
Oh, yeah.
intellectual property,
It'd
right?
be a nightmare.
Yeah, it's a minefield.
Yeah, exactly. And that's exactly the problem Story Protocol is trying to tackle. It's not about getting rid of copyright.
Right.
It's about dragging the system for managing IP, kicking and screaming, into the 21st century.
Yes.
And doing it in a way that empowers creators, not just lawyers.
It really is about recognizing that the old system just wasn't built for this.
No.
The speed, the volume of digital creation.
Right, and then you throw AI into the mix, and it's just like,
Yeah, exactly.
they start get it.
It just explodes.
Yeah.
And Story Protocol is trying to smooth things over, make it faster, more transparent.
Okay, so less legal jargon, more creative freedom. I like the sound of that already.
Absolutely.
But how does it actually work?
Right.
They talk about IP assets, but they're very clear this isn't about just like sticking your copyright on the blockchain.
Yeah, no, exactly. So think of an IP asset more like a digital fingerprint
Okay.
of your work. It represents that creative piece within the Story Protocol ecosystem.
Got it.
The actual ownership details, like who legally holds that copyright, that all stays off-chain, grounded in the real-world legal system.
So it's like a bridge between those two worlds.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Precisely. And it gets even more interesting when you start talking about these things called programmable IP licenses, PILs for short.
PILs, yeah. I saw those. They sound like they're kind of a key part of this whole streamlining thing, right?
Absolutely. They are.
Yeah.
So imagine if you have these like pre-approved licensing options.
Easy to understand.
Yeah, easy to understand, already built into the system. That's essentially what a PIL is.
Got it.
It's a digital agreement that clearly outlines how someone else can use your work,
Okay.
whether that's for a fan project, a commercial venture, you name it.
Okay, so no more like, let me call my lawyer and we're going to spend 3 hours trying to decipher this legalese to figure out if I can just use this one character in my comic book.
Exactly. And because these licenses are programmable, they can be customized for a whole bunch of different situations.
Right.
So you want to allow like non-commercial use for free, but then you want to charge a royalty for a commercial project.
Right.
Story Protocol can handle that
Interesting. Okay.
automatically.
This is already starting to sound like a game changer, like just in terms of how like creative work gets shared and, like you said, monetized.
Absolutely. And we haven't even gotten into the Story Network blockchain yet.
Right.
That's where things get even more interesting from a transparency and security standpoint.
So it's not just about simplifying these licenses, it's about creating this whole ecosystem.
Exactly. A whole ecosystem for managing creative work.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. We were just scratching the surface here.
Okay, so we've laid some groundwork here. Story Protocol, they're serious about making IP like actually work for creators.
Yeah.
But I want to get into the nitty-gritty.
Okay.
How does this play out in real life? They keep mentioning this Story Protocol toolkit, and
It's a good toolkit.
okay, good. I'm glad to hear it. So what's in this toolkit?
Well, I mean, we touched upon IP assets, right?
Right.
Like that digital fingerprint
Yeah.
of your work. But those need a home. You need a place to store all the important information, a place to manage all these interactions we've been talking about.
Okay.
And that's where IP accounts come in.
Okay. IP accounts. So like a digital, like, I don't know, like a safety deposit box for your work.
That's a great way to put it, like a secure space where all those vital details about your work, they're organized, they're accessible.
Ownership records, licensing agreements, payment info, it all lives in your IP account.
Okay, so that sounds nice and tidy.
Exactly.
compared to like digging through emails or whatever to find this stuff.
Oh, absolutely. And because it's all on the blockchain, you get that, that added layer of security and transparency. Every action is recorded, it's verifiable. Disputes are easier to resolve.
Yeah, that's always a good thing.
Always a good thing. And speaking of resolving things, we've talked about these programmable IP licenses, these PILs.
Yes.
But how does Story Protocol actually guarantee that creators are being paid what they're owed for their work?
Right. So that's where the license templates we mentioned come in. Think of these like, I don't know, almost like pre-approved agreements, but written in plain English that spell out exactly how others can use your IP.
Okay, so instead of having to negotiate a separate contract every time someone wants to use something I made,
Right.
I can just point them to, these are my options.
Exactly. Streamlines everything. And because these licenses are programmable, they can even handle things like, royalty payments automatically. You get your cut every time your work is used.
That is slick. That is very, very cool.
Then it gets even better.
Okay, lay it on me.
Because then you have license tokens. These are like golden tickets that grant permission to use a piece of IP under those terms we were just talking about.
Okay.
So think of it like a digital certificate, kind of,
Yeah.
similar to an NFT in a way.
Okay.
It proves that someone has the right to use this piece of IP under these specific terms. Proof of permission. Simple as that.
Yeah. So between the IP assets, the accounts, the license templates, these tokens, we've got a whole system here.
You got it.
It's like they've built this whole new infrastructure
They have.
for managing creativity.
It's a marketplace, essentially,
Wow.
for creativity.
Okay.
And it's all designed to ensure fairness and transparency.
This is mind-blowing stuff. And we haven't even gotten to, the really big picture stuff. This isn't just about making fan art or writing comics.
Right.
This feels much bigger.
This is next level.
Yeah.
And we're going to get into that in the next part.
Yeah.
Some of the most exciting, potentially disruptive
Okay.
applications of Story Protocol.
I am ready. Okay, my brain is, buzzing right now.
Yeah.
Because we're not just talking about, simplifying copyright contracts. This feels bigger.
Oh, it's way bigger.
This feels like a whole new creative economy.
It has the potential to be, yeah.
So, paint me a picture here. 10 years down the line, how has Story Protocol changed things? For creators, for fans, for everyone?
Well, I think, for one thing, we're going to see an explosion of collaborative projects.
Okay.
Remember how we were talking about that content management system earlier?
Yeah.
Imagine, teams of writers, artists, musicians, all working on a project together seamlessly.
Okay.
With Story Protocol tracking all the contributions, managing the rights, even handling the payments automatically.
So a global creative studio powered by the blockchain.
Exactly.
That's wild.
And for fans, imagine being able to remix your favorite songs, create spin-off stories with characters from your favorite books, and you can actually do it legally.
So fan fiction goes legit.
Fan fiction goes legit, but on a massive scale.
Okay.
And it's not just about remixing what's already out there either.
Right.
One of the most exciting things about Story Protocol is it could help unlock entirely new forms of creative work.
Okay, yeah, they mentioned this AI-generated assets marketplace.
Yes.
That's the one that really,
Blew your mind a little bit.
yeah, whoa.
Yeah.
Are we talking about AI creating art, music, stories even, and Story Protocol, making sure those creations are treated like any other valuable asset?
You got it. Imagine AI generating thousands of unique pieces of art,
Okay.
each one registered on Story Protocol.
Right.
And then artists can use those creations in their own work
Wow.
with clear licensing agreements, automatic royalty payments, the whole 9 yards.
So it's like giving creators this huge library of raw material, pre-cleared, ready to go.
Exactly.
And then on the funding side,
Yes.
we were talking about this capital formation platform.
Right.
This could be huge for how creative projects actually get off the ground.
It really could.
Moving away from the traditional gatekeepers, right?
Absolutely.
Giving creators a more direct line to their communities.
Imagine fans being able to invest in the projects that they're passionate about.
Crowdfunding, but
Crowdfunding, but with that transparency and security of the blockchain.
yeah, okay, that makes sense. This is a really bold vision.
Yeah,
If they can pull this off.
It's huge.
It's
huge.
awesome.
And it's not just about the technology.
Right.
It's about a whole new way of thinking about creativity, ownership, the relationship between creators and their audiences.
Yeah, it's a lot to wrap your head around, but that's what we do here, right?
Exactly.
A good deep dive should leave you with more questions than answers, but also that excitement for what's possible. And I
Okay.
think it's safe to say, if even a fraction of what Story Protocol's aiming for works out,
Yeah.
we could be on the verge of something really, really special.
A creative renaissance, I think you could call it.
I like that.
Yeah.
A creative renaissance. And to everyone listening, as you're out there encountering new ideas, new technologies, keep asking those what if questions. Because the future of creativity, much like Story Protocol itself, is waiting to be written.